Welcome. In this video, we want to explain what is the Urantia Book, Part 1. What is the Urantia Book? Quoted from Wikipedia, the Urantia Book came from a series of message papers received by a group of educated people led by Dr. William Sadler, a psychiatrist, in Chicago in the early 20th century. A woman consulted Sadler about her husband's deep sleeping, prompting Sadler to observe him while he slept. Sadler noticed that the sleeping man spoke to him in an unusual voice and claimed to be a visitor from another planet. Sadler and 5 others subsequently visited the man on a regular basis, speaking with him as he slept. In 1925, a large handwritten document was discovered in the patient's house. Papers were said to appear in the house for years afterwards. Of course, as a well-known scientist and psychiatrist in the city, it's not that easy for him to believe. Sadler began hosting gatherings at his home, which was attended by as many as 30 educated guests. In 1935, Sadler concluded that the papers were not a hoax, and arguing that the sleeping man was not a medium for the dead, but was used by living beings to communicate. So after collected, finally this book was printed in 1955, and it contains more than 2,000 pages of texts. This book is intended to expand cosmic consciousness and enhance spiritual perception. Then how we can prove this claim? Let's explore this book. The Urantia Book contains lots of data, historical and scientific data inside that book, ready to be examined by scientists. It also contains explanation of almost every basic realities in this world and the entire cosmos. So that is good for philosophers who are looking for meanings of everything. And for religionists, there are spiritual values and advanced teachings. This book is not a holy book, and not proclaiming a new religion or a new prophet, but supporting every religion in this world because every religion contains truth. And if you are an ordinary person like me, you will be happy to read that God loves us. His Spirit is dwelling within us, our life is meaningful, and our future is glorious in the eternity. The basic content of this book is simple, and we will explain what we know in this video channel. This book is also consistent. And to prove this, you can do exploratory search to find topics. Using the search engine provided at Urantia.org, you will find that any term or name in this book is described consistently and does not require much interpretation. Indeed, this book is much deeper than the written words, because there are things that are not revealed by purpose. But this book can be understood without much interpretation. We will start from the basic structure and then the general content. This book is divided into 4 parts. First, there is an introduction chapter, which contains a definitive guide. For many people, this is the most difficult part. But you will find here the important summary and basic explanation. Then part 1 is about God and the universe, the paradise, the Havona, the central universe which is the center of all creation, the 7 superuniverses, and the outer universes. This part 1 explains the manifold types of beings who inhabit those universes. From this part we can learn about the organizational structure of the government of this vast universe with their functions. You can imagine from those in charge of initiating nebulae to create stars and planets, to those creating and managing life, to those teaching the truth, and so on. Imagine any works in this world. And there are much greater functions in the universe. We exist in a colossal cosmos containing trillions of galaxies, stars, and planets. However, everything is centered in the one source and first center. The first source, the Universal Father. You can see here the concentric circles. That getting wider and wider from one point? That is illustration of the cosmos. From one source to three, the Trinity of Father, Son, and Spirit. Then, to 7 master spirits and 7 super-universes, and so on without limit. The unity of God and this universe is remarkable. Because even though the universe is diversified infinitely, everything is in Him and He is in everything. And even more important is that the first source is a loving person. So we can address Him as our Father. He is a Father of family of the universe of universes. In this part 1, you will find many details about celestial personalities in the cosmos, about their names, sources, creations, abilities, functions, histories, and their destinies. The types and functions of creation are numerous, really beyond our understanding. Just imagine if a country could be so complicated, let alone trillions of stars and planets in the universe. So, if in part 1 you are confused about many new names, don't worry. You can search and find their descriptions. Because each of them is unique and have important roles in the cosmos. Even human beings have vital roles in the cosmos. The part 2 explains the local universe. Star systems that are still being developed and built. If the previous part 1 is about the central universe, which is eternal and never change. But part 2 is about the building of new universes, which is still in progress of development. Local universes are relatively a small part of a super-universe. It has the capacity about 10 millions of inhabited planets, far below the super-universe. These new local universes are growing toward perfection in the future. Part 2 is about the development project of local universe that was created and developed to a perfection and integration with the greater cosmos. Nebadon is the name of our local universe. The creator of Nebadon is a pair of creator sun and creative spirit from paradise. They are also called Michael of Nebadon and the mother spirit of Nebadon. And much like our family on the earth, they have a lot of children who are managing this local universe. Who they are, their positions and functions, you will read in part 2. You will read about the higher spirits, the rulers of constellations, the system and planetary executives, the Adam and Eve, the archangels, the seraphim angels, and so on. The development and building of new local universes needs evolution. Many scientific things are discussed in this part 2. For example, what energy and matter is, the subatomic structure, and so on. Development of local universe is not instantly, but gradually by hard work using all kinds of technology and management. If you are an astronomer, physicist, or life biologist, you will probably get a lot of inspiration from this part. This part 2 also explains life on planets, spiritual planetary management, and an example of civilization on one neighbor planet. This part explains also the next higher worlds where we will go after our journey in this planet is completed. Our local universe, Nebadon, is not yet perfect. Evolution is step by step, by design, by experience, by experiments, by teamwork of celestials and human beings. And then it is inevitable that there will be problems, failures, and even rebellions in our local universe, such as the Lucifer Rebellion, but similar with development in a company. The problems must be sorted out, and new projects must be integrated with the larger existing divisions of the company. Coming down to Part 3. The Part 3 of the Urantia book is about the history of the planet Earth, from the formation of the solar system to the implantation and development of life and human civilization on this planet. If you are a geologist or a historian, you might like Part 3 because it's a detailed history of the planet, known only to the creators and keepers of this planet far before historic times. If you are a truth seeker, this Part 3 could be interesting also, because it also contains the history of religions from the founding of that religions until present day. We can find out here the history and review of teachings in the world. Religions also a part of the Creator's design. Indeed, all religions contain truth, says the Urantia book, but none can claim to have the whole truth. This third part contains the pinnacle of religion, a wonderful explanation about the spirit that indwells all humans, including you and me. This spirit is a spark or fragment of God the Father, and is called as the thought adjuster in this book. This divine spirit guides every human being from within. Then there is also about death, the survival, the resurrection planet, and life after death in higher dimensions. Finally, this Part 3 ends with an explanation of the evolution of the Supreme Being, the God of evolution, who is still evolving together with us. We live and participate in shaping the future of the universe. With this the Supreme, the God of evolution. This is the significance of human work and human abilities, because humans and God are working together to build the joint project of the evolutionary universe toward the goals of perfection. Our life is important for the Supreme. The fourth part is about Jesus of Nazareth. Who is this Jesus? Jesus is incarnation of the Michael of Nebadon, the creator of our local universe, described in the Part 2. His main purpose in coming to this planet was to reveal about the universal Father who sent him here. Revelation about the real nature of God was his main purpose. He revealed the Father of love, merciful, and good God. In his life, he demonstrated a practical way of life, so that we can learn to follow the will of God. We can see practically what it would be like if the teachings of a loving Father were demonstrated in real human life. Jesus is a Creator Son incarnated in human form. The Urantia book called him a God-man. From stories in Part 4 we can see that God loves, forgives, and helps the creatures. Love, mercy, and service to others are the core of his teachings, all of which come from nature and attributes of God. That is discussed in previous parts of the Urantia book. The next major teaching of Jesus is all of us are God's children. And God loves all with infinite love. God is spirit, and the adjuster or spirit of God is given to the mind of every us. So that we are called children of God. Because the Spirit is dwelling in each of us. And we can learn to communicate with Him directly. Because the adjuster understands all our thoughts. This Spirit is discussed in the part 3. And in this part 4, we can see the actual spiritual life, living the will of God. The Spirit within us is the greatest proof that God exists. And that humans are God's children. God dwells in man and brought human to exalted level of sons of God. The Father of universal family is just and shows no favoritism to all His children. In part 4, you will find many names, dates, and places. Starting from before Jesus' birth, His parents, His birth, childhood, adolescence, youth or the missing years, travel around the Mediterranean and the Middle East. Until finally public service, His public ministries with His apostles, His miracles. Conflict with some religious rulers at that time. His last days, death, resurrection, appearances, ascension, and analysis of what it really was the faith of Jesus Himself. What is His own faith? We can study His faith in the last paper, paper 196. So that is a brief explanation of this Urantia book, which explains about God and universe, the evolving local universe, the evolution of earth and human, the God within man, and finally the real example of life. Again, starting from the source of all realities and the cosmos, down to new local universes, to the history of earth and human civilization, the essence of religion, the destiny of man, and finally a practical human life example. The fundamentals of the Urantia book is actually very simple and clear. And we can start from anywhere we like. Again, an easy approach to this book is to ask and investigate if you find something new. There are so many details in this book. Long before computer was invented, this book was already printed, and today we can check using search engine. Think about a concept, visit Urantia.org or download the apps, use search engine, and find the answers. You will find that all names, concepts, and terms in the Urantia book are consistent. Compare it with modern science, technology, philosophy, and religion and review its explanation with the reality in real world. In fact, we don't need to interpret much, just try to understand it as much as possible with the open mind. Understanding higher concepts is impossible without open mind. Confusion will happen, but the consistency will help. Please comment, like and subscribe, because in upcoming videos we will explain more highlight tutorial about this book, then drilling down to subjects. Don't feel intimidated by the contents of the book, because this book is intended to broaden our horizons, for the good of human beings on this planet. Universe is unity, God of love gives life, cares and illuminates all His children to solve problems and to face the future, regardless of our situation and regardless of world problems. If you have questions or requests about certain topics, please write them in the comments column. Thank you and hope your day gets better. Our Father loves you with infinite love. With Him, our future is great. Peace.